Hi, today we're going to make shepherd's pie. This is a really simple recipe and I'll go through it step by step, but it is really simple. It doesn't have very many ingredients. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take a large onion and we're going to put that into our pan and chop it up quite small. Let's get this on. Okay, a little bit of oil. And what we're going to do is we're going to heat that onion and we're going to chop up 3 carrots. I've chopped these up quite fine. And we're going to heat this through for about 3 minutes. It doesn't take very long, just 3 minutes of heating. Okay, so we've cooked through our onion and our carrots for about 3 minutes. Then we're going to add some mince. Now because we're making shepherd's pie, we're going to add our lamb mince. So if it was cottage pie, it would be beef mince. We're going to put our mince in, and then what we're going to do for 5 minutes is we're going to heat that because we want to brown our meat. Okay, so we browned our mince. Okay, now depending on how fatty the mince is, this was quite lean mince, but if it's quite fatty mince, then you might want to just drain off if there's any excess fat. Okay, so the next step after it's browned is we're going to add a good splash of Worcester sauce. Okay, and then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. So 1, 2, good splodge. Okay, and then we're going to mix that in. Okay, I'm also going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. So there's a little bit of salt. A little bit of pepper. And again, we're going to mix that in. Okay, and the final thing we're going to do, we're going to add 500 ml of beef stock and pour it over. And then what we're going to do, we're going to bring it to the boil and then we're going to simmer it for about 25 to 30 minutes. So we'll bring it to the boil, simmer it and get ready for the next step. Okay, whilst we've got our mince simmering away, what we need to do then is peel our potatoes, and we need for this recipe about 1 kilogram of potatoes. Okay, I hate peeling potatoes, but we need to peel. It's about 9 medium-sized spuds. Okay, and when you've peeled them, what we need to do then is we're just going to cut them up into smaller pieces and we're going to boil them in salted water, lightly, not a lot of salt, just a little bit of salt, and we're going to boil them for about 15 minutes until they go all soft, and then we're going to mash them. Okay, so we're going to use just under 1 kilogram of potatoes for this recipe, and when we peel them, we're going to chop them up, boil them up in slightly salted water for about 15 minutes till they go soft, then we're going to mash them and get ready for the next stage. Okay, so we're going to chop up our potatoes. These are the sort of size that we want, so we're just going to chop them up and then they'll cook quicker in the water. So be careful when you're doing this. So this is the sort of size we want. Okay, so we've boiled our potatoes. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're then going to mash them. So we're going to add a little bit of butter to our potatoes. A bit more. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of butter. And then we're going to add a little bit of milk. So we want them quite creamy. Okay, and then we're going to mash our potatoes. Okay, so we've done our mashed potato. Okay, now what we're going to do, if it's a bit too runny, your mince, this has been simmering away for about 30 minutes. If it's a bit too runny, you can add a little bit of corn flour and that will thicken it up. And what we're going to do, we're going to pour that into a heat-proof dish. Okay, just smooth it out into our dish. Okay, and then with our potato, what we're going to do is with a fork, we're just going to fork little bits on top and we're going to cover our dish with potato. Cool. I think this is one of my favourite foods. Okay, so there we go. Now, if we're going to cook it and eat it straight away, what we need to do is we need to put it in an oven about 160 degrees for about 25 minutes. And what will happen is all that meat underneath will bubble through the potato, and we'll get a lovely crispy layer on top of potato, and that will be delicious. You could put it in the freezer, so this will happily freeze, and then you can obviously cook it from frozen. Okay, but if you're going to cook it from frozen, if you're going to freeze it, you need to leave it to cool before you put it in the freezer. Okay, so if you're going to cook this straight away, pop it in the oven, 25 minutes, about 160 degrees, and that will be absolutely delicious. There is our shepherd's pie.